Hi, it's Tim, Emerging Indie Bands, and I'm having a conversation today with Tallulah Rendall from England. Hi, Tallulah.
Hi Tim, how you doing?
Hi, thanks. I'm doing really well, and thanks so much for coming back for a second time.
Yeah, you're
I managed
welcome.
to record 3 seconds of our last interview, so I'm really sorry about that. And thanks, because I know you're really busy doing the promotion for the Banshee in the Moon, and I've seen some of the interviews you've been doing, so it's kind of you to find another slot for me. But before we talk about the Banshee in the Moon,
Yeah.
which I did review a little while ago, and it's a superb album. But one of the things that struck me about you is that you're very much the independent artist, and a lot of, in fact, all of your albums, I believe, have been funded through crowdfunding.
Yeah, so all three.
How's that worked out?
God, it's been really amazing. It's been kind of feels like it's covered a whole spectrum of emotions. I mean, when I first started crowdfunding, it was in 2006, and it was a totally unheard of concept. And then in 2009 or 10, when I did the crowdfunding for my second album, Alive, then I did it through Pledge Music, and I was one of the first artists to go through the UK side of things for them, and it was amazing. It was challenging though, because not many people had heard of crowdfunding, so there was an element of having to kind of educate people to understand that I wasn't just asking for free money. I was selling things in advance. I was selling art or writing songs for people, or doing private gigs or whatever it might have been, and that money was being used for the crowdfunding. And it was a really incredible experience, but it was, it's 3-4 months hard work, kind of having to reach out to your fans and your database, and kind of pitching this vision that you have without being able to play anything to the people. And when it came to my third record, The Banshee in the Moon, I felt that because I'd had the experience of the first two albums, and I felt like I had a really strong crowdfunding fan base, I felt I was in a position to be able to do it independently again. So I did the third one off my own site, which entered into a whole different conversation, because you're therefore removing the third party, and you're really having to ask your supporters to really trust that you're going to fulfill your promises. You're going to make the record. You're not just going to fuck off with their money. And
quite.
And so I wrote to each person again, just saying, how did they feel about it? And everyone wrote back saying, no, we're totally behind you. But because it was independent, I didn't have the time restrictions that I had for the pledge campaign, which if I didn't meet the target in 3 months, then I wouldn't receive any of the funds. And which is a pretty, on top of having to go out there and ask people to believe in you, it's a pretty stressful aspect.
I would imagine it's quite harrowing with sort of a week to go, and you still only need £500 or whatever it is, and you think, no, surely not.
Totally. And I kind of felt that I just didn't want to have that aspect hanging over me, so I did it completely independently. But it took me, I think it was like 8 months to do it, to raise the money. But we're talking large sums of money, and it was easier this time around because people had an awareness of crowdfunding. It wasn't like I was kind of going out completely into the unknown again. But what's been interesting is, I think now, having done it twice independently and once with Pledge, I was thinking about it the other day, whether I would go back to doing it with Pledge. And I think I probably would, because they now are set up in a way that they actually, one of their board members was telling me the other day that they actually have a pool, a kind of creative crowdfunding community now who pledge, whether they know the band or don't know the band. And so people who are going through sites like this are having the possibility of reaching out to an existing crowdfunding audience that particular site already has a relationship with.
Right. So do you mean by that Pledge or whoever it is already have established people who are interested in musicians or tech people, whatever? So they would actually email those people straight away and say, "Look, we've got this one. Come on, what do you reckon?"
Well, I think when I think when a campaign gets launched, the sort of community automatically can see it.
Right.
And so that is an interesting new dimension to it, because they're saying that between 25 and 45% of the pledges that come through are actually from this pool, which is was very different from my experience.
Sure.
All that time ago when there wasn't that creative community, and so I didn't really see the value of doing it again. Whereas now you think, okay, wow, there is that possibility to reach out to totally different groups of people that have never heard of me but are already open to the concept of crowdfunding, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think for an artist like me who, it's, I write my own music, I play the instruments, I kind of produce, but then the albums themselves are presented as books and there's artwork for each of the songs. It's a very multifaceted campaign. It's not just music. And so I think there's lots of different elements that would interest people. So, yeah, that kind of intrigues me now.
One of the other things about crowdfunding, I would imagine, is that you probably get a chance to get a little bit closer to your fans, to your audience, do you?
Yeah, totally. And, I mean, as an independent artist, it's you kind of going through, I mean, personally, I've been doing this for something like 15 years or something, and it's all that I've ever done in my life, really, as a profession. And to be unsigned after that time is a pretty kind of self-doubting chat. To be like, God, am I really shit? There's no signing me. But then when you've got hundreds and hundreds of people writing to you, just totally supporting you on a daily basis, kind of going, oh, I'm really loving this new track, and I'm so proud to be a part of it, and it really makes you feel kind of that you're creating something that's being acknowledged and appreciated, and just really having this relationship develop over the last 6 or 7 years with the fan bases has been really amazing and really inspiring. And the music industry itself, as everyone knows, can be pretty harrowing and pretty toxic on some different levels. And
sure, to
be able to find aspects that are continually inspiring and continually supportive is really is kind of like the nectar,
Yeah.
One of the things that I did as part of the crowdfunding for this last album was I did this living room tour, and I'd sort of never really done anything like that before. And so 2 years ago, I sort of put it was a part of my incentives, and a couple of people pledged to have me come and play in their homes, and it was a really it was a great experience. I went and played at a couple of people's 21sts, and these really intimate settings, and it went on for me to decide, okay, well, promoters don't really pay very much anymore in the UK, and you can only pay for 20 minutes or half an hour, and that doesn't seem like a fair exchange for fans who are traveling long distances. So why don't I just put it out to my kind of crowdfunding fan base and say, look, I want to do a tour. Does anyone fancy hosting me? And so at the end of last year, I ended up doing 35 dates in the UK, and then I don't know, 15 or something in Germany. And just going and playing in people's houses, and I played in cellars, I played in bookshops, I played in living rooms, I played in gardens, I played in summer houses, I played in the castle, I played like all over the place. And
that sounds like a really good idea. That
it was amazing, and it totally, it was totally re-inspired my decision to kind of tour again, because I'd kind of felt a little bit jaded and financially just couldn't make it work. And then suddenly, when I was doing this tour, and all the gigs were run by donation, so people could just turn up for free and bring a bottle of whatever or some food, and it was a real kind of collective community gathering. And then at the end of the night, people would give whatever they wanted in response to their experience, and I earned a huge amount of money, and I gave these shows which were 2.5 hours long and really connected with the audience, and it suddenly felt like for the first time in a long time that there was a real balance of what was being given and what was being received. People were getting shows that weren't 20 minutes long, and I was actually getting paid. And that
whole new experience nowadays
in the UK. So that was something that really that was really born out of doing crowdfunding and the relationship with the crowdfunding pledges. And I would never have engaged on a tour in that way if I hadn't had that experience. So, it was amazing. And actually, I've just come back from Germany. One of my pledges from the Banshee in the Moon just flew me out for the weekend to play at his birthday party, and it was amazing. I got treated so well. I got given amazing food. I stayed in a really lovely place. All the guests at his party were lovely and great, and loved all the songs, and bought lots of albums. And it's like, wow, this is great. This is a really great way of playing music.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you, as a result of those sorts of venues, which aren't soundproofed, they're not geared up for necessarily acoustically and all the rest of it, do you find you have to put together a different sort of set, or?
Well, no, actually. So what I then ended up doing is my poor little car, which is kind of hanging together by a fine thread, kind of turned into a kind of mobile PA touring van, and I basically had a whole rig that I'd borrowed from various different people, and I basically created a set. So each house or each space that I went into, there was like a PA system, but there was also a friend of mine made me these really beautiful wooden pedal boards and a very beautiful wooden mic stand. And so rather than kind of going into someone's home and just creating this kind of web of wires and chaos, and I actually kind of created like a little set. And so sound-wise, I was able to perform, okay, I'm not playing with a drummer, or I wasn't playing with a full band, but I could still, the way that I tour in this kind of in this way is I have, I loop things and I trigger sounds, so I can, and I play, bass, guitar and piano, so I can build up a song in the same way that I would play, that the song would sound on the record. And I can just loop the vocals and loop the harmony, so the song ends up being as big as it would sound on record, but it's just through looping and through triggering sounds and stuff. So, which I think also people weren't expecting. I think they were just expecting me to rock up with an acoustic guitar and just start wailing in the kitchen. Which did happen occasionally, but I mean, it was. Yeah, it was.
That sounds really good and really interesting as a concept for other bands to maybe consider as a way to connect with fans much more closely and intimately, gain some inspiration and feeling that actually, there are people that care, and on top of that, the most important thing is earn a bit of money while you're doing it.
Yeah, I mean it's hard because you don't want to sound like you're kind of that the money is the focus, but when you have to live, you have to pay your rent, you have to pay your bills.
Exactly.
And have to buy your food, and it is as basic as that, and I've got a gig that I've been booked to play at a festival in 2 weeks' time, and I'm getting paid 30 quid, and that's not a reality I can survive by, whereas that is the nature of the beast, unfortunately.
Despite all that, you still managed to put out, well, also because of the crowdfunding, but despite all the other problems that exist in the music industry, you do manage to put out some wonderful pieces of work. And the most recent being, as we've said, The Banshee in the Moon. And I described your work very much as an art installation in itself, because it comes with a book, it comes with vinyl, and you actually launched it in an art gallery. Is that whole visual aspect, part of what you described on actually playing in somebody's house or in an alternate space, it sounds like you put an awful lot of thought to the presentation of it, where you talk about wooden mics and all these sorts of things. Was that aspect of the art installation important to the integrity of what it is that you're trying to produce and trying to get people to hear?
Yes, in short. I mean, as you know, I grew up in a house full of vinyl, and my mum used to run nightclubs in the 70s, and so as a kid, this basement was just full of old records, and the beauty of a record, the beauty of a sort of an early Stones record or a Santana record or any of those, just the artwork is beautiful and really inspiring. And when I first recorded the Bellis in 2009 or 8, whenever it was, it just didn't feel enough for me to just have a CD. I really wanted to have something that was equivalent to the vinyl, but no one was buying vinyl. It felt like a kind of business suicide to just release the record on vinyls. But what felt like a great transition was to have a book. And then for each of the songs on the album, I could have a piece of art, and then there was space to actually tell the story behind the songs, or the journey, just the journey of writing the record and being an independent artist. And so it really kind of grew from there. And with the second album, I was so inspired by the experience of the first, and the response globally was extraordinary. It really gave me the opportunity of traveling, and I toured in Australia and New Zealand and around Europe and Japan even, and purely on the basis that people were happy to spend 15 quid on buying my book, an album. And it was an opportunity to really connect with the audiences, and, signing a book and chatting to them, and, and whilst being on stage talking, reading out some of the stories, and really beginning to communicate really directly, rather than, sometimes I'll just get up on stage and I'll just sing the songs back to back and I won't really say anything. And then sometimes if it feels right and I feel like I want to, then I'll talk more about the songs, and I'll talk about what inspired them, and, the artwork and the whole kind of full 360 side of it. But it just sort of grew from that. And then with the live, it's kind of, I guess, the complete antithesis of Libellus, I had this desire to collaborate with lots of different artists from different mediums, and that was really born from having toured in New Zealand with a dancer, a woman called Amy Richardson, Impy, and she, amazing aerial artist, and just seeing her dance as we played the songs, I was just like, wow, wouldn't it be incredible to actually to give each of the songs on this record to a different artist, so a jeweler or a painter or a photographer or an animator, and let's just create a creative collaborative community. And so that kind of, suddenly that's what happened for the next record, and it was, everyone did it for free, because the intention was to create something that was greater than the sum of our parts, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So and that was the one that I did with Pledge. But in doing that, it was kind of, I guess, a kind of sense of slightly overextending, because it became this enormous project. And, we created 22 films. There's, 11 videos of each of the artists creating their piece of work, edited with, us recording each song at hook end. And so there's music videos, and then each of the artists interview. I mean, it's this huge project that I somehow created in 6 months. And I have no idea how it happened. It just did. And it just meant for the latest record, The Banshee in the Moon, I suddenly really wanted to, I guess, take control, just simplify, really. I just wanted to simplify everything back down again to the essence of myself as a songwriter and as an artist, and try and really capture that. And my kind of vision of how the artwork should be presented visually, because with the previous albums it was very much a case of just, if you're an artist, just create whatever you want in response to this, and there was very undictatorial. So with the Banshee, it's very much my vision and my directorship. And the reason the gallery evolved is because I was doing a show and I met Rebecca, who ran the space, and her gallery, and showed her Libellus and Alive, and she just said, well, if you ever want to do anything, I'd love to work with you. And so at the beginning of the year I wrote her this email, and I couldn't believe it, but she wrote back saying yes. And she's one of the most respected gallery owners in the UK and New York, and she's got a beautiful space in Soho, and it just felt like the best place to really present this body of work. And so we had 14 large, that's a 1 meter squared. It's 1 meter squared. I'm not quite sure how to describe.
I know what you mean. Quite big.
Really big pictures in the Rebecca Hossack Gallery in Soho, and next to each one there was a QR code streaming the song that inspired the image. And I gave book readings, and each night sang tracks from the record and some from Alive and Libellus. And a lot of the crowdfunders who are based in the UK came, and friends and family and just general supporters. And it was, a really incredible thing to experience. I can't even remember what the question was now.
You managed to answer it. one thing I didn't make clear when I was talking about the book is the book itself, which I do have, and thank you very much for that. It's a book that has the photographs in it, and that's what I was talking about. The aspect of it being a sort of an art installation. The photographs seem to be really. They do sort of tell a story, even though they're not simple, but they are black and white photographs. Yeah. But they seem to tell the story of the song. Yeah. You used, I think it was 3 or 4 photographers for that. Did you give them a brief as to what you wanted, or did you say, here's the music and go and create the image?
No, I mean, it wasn't. It was very much a case of I knew the emotion that was attached to the song, and I wanted to capture an image that caught that emotion. Right. So it wasn't a case of setting up the image, okay, this is, okay, I'm feeling angry, let's go and stand here and look angry kind of thing. It was a case of kind of, these are the images I want to take during the day, and we just explored the different environments that we were in, and it just very naturally, we found the space to capture the image. I mean, there are some that are completely just, just kind of divine intervention. That sounds a bit overpretentious, doesn't it? But there's basically there's the shot for Shine On. I just think, you can't premeditate something like that. The song's all about love and connection and sort of letting go. And, we found the swing, and I'm swinging on the swing. And then suddenly the sun's light kind of shines on my heart just at the point where Akio took the photo. And so when you see the photo, it's just this extraordinary picture, because you can't really tell, but I'm on a swing, and then there's a suddenly strange starshine light coming out from my heart. And, you can't, that was just complete fluke.
Yeah, you can't legislate for that, can you really?
No, you can't kind of be like, right, this, that it was just, and I think that, what I love so much about the images is they're not, personally, I don't think they're contrived because of that. They really just, there's a spontaneity and a freedom that also encompasses the emotion behind the song.
But perhaps it's me, and I'm somewhat colourblind, but I always find black and white images are far more emotionally powerful, or can be, than colour images. So for me, it works particularly well.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same. There's something about the directness of them. And maybe it's what we associate with black and white images to historically. I don't know. Just kind of having things come from. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what it is. Don't know. But yeah, I'm the same.
So you ran the art gallery show last month, I think it was. I think we're still in June, aren't we?
Yeah. June, yeah. So it's 28th till the 1st of June, 28th of May to the 1st of June, and it was really kind of. I wanted to celebrate. Really, I wanted to celebrate the fact that I finally finished the project. These things always take so much longer, and it was 2 years from start to end, from writing the record to recording and writing the book and working with the photographers and printing and all that. It kind of goes on and on and on. And I just wanted to celebrate with the people that had made it happen. And also, I kind of made the decision I didn't want to self-release this record. And I ran a record label for 6 or 7 years, and I know the limitations of what I can do as one person. I just really feel that this album deserves a really strong team of people around it. And so I kind of set up this event to celebrate it, and also just to be like, okay, industry, world, this is me, this is what I've created, this is what I can do, this is what I want to do, and just kind of really invite anyone who wanted to kind of help me take it further to come into my life.
So you are planning on taking this out on the road, are you?
Yeah. So one of the new aspects that's come in is I've got a booking agent, which is amazing.
You're getting grown up.
Which is great after so long, Oh my God. I kind of look back and think, how did we do it? How did we do these tours? How did we make this stuff happen? But, you do, don't you? Anyway, so Rich from Mojo Hobo agency's come on board, and he's helping book a tour for September around the UK. And I guess ideally I want to find a label to release the whole project and really put some kind of proper marketing behind it, because I know there's only so much I can do, but if I don't, then then I will self-release it through TuneCore or CD Baby, or there's so many different opportunities out there for those kind of things, but I'm kind of just holding back at the moment.
Is it available now? Because I'm, as I said, you kindly sent me some to review, and so that I got some early copies, but so I'm not quite sure where you're at on what's available. But I believe the vinyl's available, the book's available, and a CD's available. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm sort of confused by what I'm doing as well. I guess at the moment the vinyl's available. So the vinyl's available with the download code, and the book is available. I haven't really been pushing it that much yet, but if people find it, they can buy it. I'm just sort of, to be honest, I'm just catching up with myself, because it's just it's only really just all kind of been finished, and so it is available.
Well, as you said, it's a project that started, as I recall, you wrote the album in Berlin, in fact, a couple of years ago. So it's a big chunk of your life. You could probably do with a bit of a breather to work out what to do next. Yeah. But what about the digital side of it? Did you have plans on that?
Yeah. So again, one of my pledges over the weekend was just like, I'm so irritated with you that you haven't released it on digitally yet. And it's like, well, because once I've done that, then it's out, it's in the world, and people keep saying to me, well, what are you going to do next? What happens next? Well, now that the album's finished, what are you doing next? And it's like, this album is still, it's got a job to do, it's got work to do. Yeah, I finished it, but now it needs to go out into the world. And
now the really hard
part. And there's billions of people on this planet, and I think only about 500 of them have heard my music. And so I feel like, okay, it's got to get out there. And so, as I said, I'm kind of looking for the right label to release it digitally, to really kind of get behind it. And part of the luck that I've had in the past has been there's a sort of cinematic aspect to my music, which has enabled me to sync songs to films, and nearly 2 tracks on both previous records have gone into really great films, and that's been a really good opportunity. So I'm hoping that also with this one that there might also be the chance to do that, and there are some opportunities that could happen. We'll see.
Watch this space.
Yeah, watch this space.
Well, best of luck with the tour, and also obviously finding somebody, one of the labels, to come in and help you really launch it into the marketplace. Because to me, it's certainly one that deserves to be out there. And I'm going to finish off with one of your tracks, and we sort of threw up which one we might go with, and we both decided to plump with what was my pick of the release, so I'm really happy about that, and it's called Pieces. Thanks a lot, Tallulah. Speak to you again soon.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, one thing I did forget to ask. I said to you, are you planning on taking it out on the road anywhere? And then, of course, I completely forgot to ask you where you might be taking it. Where can people see you?
So I'm going to be at Latitude, which is going to be great. I'm playing every day there, every afternoon in the Pucker Herbs tent, which is going to be great. And then there are also a couple of secret shows that are happening. And then I'm at the Secret Garden Party on the Sunday night in the Artful Badger tent. And then I'm just doing a whole bunch of living room gigs throughout August, which would be great. And then September I'll be in Bristol and in Bath, and hopefully Oxford, and then London, and then we're just now sorting out the northern side of stuff, so heading up to Liverpool and Manchester. But yeah, if you just check out www.tallulahrendahl.com, all dates will be on there.
What I'll do, I'll even put a link at the end of the interview on this, so people can get that. Cool. www.bit. So right. Well, there's no excuse to not catch Tallulah this summer if you're in the UK, and hopefully people internationally will get a chance to catch up with you soon as well.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Let's do Pieces.